Have you ever accidentally insulted your boss while you were actively trying to compliment them?
Oh, yeah. More times than people admit.
Right. And what if the critical difference between being called a highly respected visionary leader and being labeled an absolutely annoying colleague comes down to just one single English word?
I mean, the margin between a compliment and a career-limiting insult is remarkably thin, you know? So today, we're going to master exactly 6 advanced personality adjectives, decode 5 complex phrasal verbs, unpack 5 native-level idioms, and uncover the one massive mistake that almost all English learners make with the word nice.
Wow, okay, that is a packed agenda. So if you are an intermediate to advanced learner, someone aiming for that solid B2 or C1 fluency, and you are completely tired of sounding like a robotic audio textbook, well, you're exactly in the right place.
Absolutely.
Welcome to this English Learning Podcast. Deep dive for daily life, real conversation, and easy listening practice.
Yeah, our mission today is laser focused. We're upgrading your vocabulary so you can paint a clear, accurate, and, vivid picture of a person's character.
Right, because relying on those basic words.
Yeah, it doesn't just make your English sound simple. It actively limits your ability to express complex thoughts. And that often leads to severe miscommunication in the real world. I mean, you can't describe a 3-dimensional human being with 1-dimensional vocabulary.
No, definitely not. And fluency, I always say, is fundamentally about confidence, not perfection. So we're going to be interacting with you, the listener, throughout this entire deep dive.
For sure.
I highly encourage you to speak out loud with us as we practice these phrases. It's the absolute best way to train the muscle memory in your mouth while simultaneously wiring your brain for native-sounding syntax.
Yeah, the psychology of language is just fascinating because the words we choose actually dictate the reality we construct, right?
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, when you lack a precise word, you lose the precise meaning. You end up settling for an approximation, which just flattens your communication completely.
But before we get to the advanced vocabulary that will make you sound like a native speaker, we need to address a glaring issue.
A huge one.
We have to talk about why the most popular, most frequently used adjective in the English language actually needs to be banned from your vocabulary immediately. So stick around, because this might change how you speak forever.
Banning a word sounds extreme, I know, but to build a skyscraper, you first have to clear out the old, unstable foundation.
Makes sense.
So if we want to construct a C1 level vocabulary, we have to talk about the absolute death of the word nice.
I am so ready to sign the death certificate for this word. Seriously.
I mean, the word nice is essentially a linguistic black hole.
A black hole?
Yeah, it's where vocabulary goes to die. It is completely empty. Think about it. If you tell me my colleague is nice, what psychological or behavioral information have you actually given me?
Basically nothing.
Exactly. Are they helpful in a crisis? Are they polite to strangers? Are they generous with their time? Or do they just sit quietly at their desk and not cause any trouble?
Right. Nice completely fails to paint a picture.
It does the heavy lifting for beginners, sure, but it provides 0 specific data.
Using the word nice to describe a complex, living, breathing human being is exactly like going to a 5-star Michelin-rated restaurant, eating a perfectly crafted gourmet meal, and describing it as edible.
Oh, that is a perfect analogy. Edible.
I mean, sure, edible technically tells me that the food won't poison me.
Yeah.
Right? I can physically chew it, but I learn absolutely nothing about the spices, the rich textures, the temperature, or the culinary experience. It's factually accurate, but entirely useless.
Yeah, that culinary analogy perfectly captures the mechanism of basic vocabulary. Edible is the baseline of food. Nice is the baseline of human decency.
Exactly.
It's not a description. It's a minimum requirement. And the moment we realize how lazy these basic adjectives are, we start noticing the same cognitive laziness with other common labels.
Oh, like what?
Take the words introvert and extrovert, for example.
Oh, don't get me started.
Right. Everyone assumes they understand these terms, mostly thanks to internet memes and pop psychology. But the popular definitions are almost entirely myths.
This is a massive pet peeve of mine because the internet has decided that an introvert is basically a hermit.
Right, like they live in a cave.
Yeah. The cultural narrative is that an introvert is someone who, harbors a deep hatred for humanity, cowers under a heavy blanket in a dark room, and is completely incapable of holding a conversation.
which fundamentally misrepresents the psychological reality of personality.
Right.
Let's look at the true functional definitions. These terms don't describe your social skills. They describe your energy management.
Energy management, I like that.
Yeah. An extrovert is a person who gains internal energy from external stimulation. They draw power from the environment. They're the people often described as someone who lights up a room or acts as the life of the party.
Right. They thrive on that outward exchange.
Exactly. Whereas an introvert is simply someone who expends energy during social interactions and must recharge their internal battery with quiet time.
Exactly. I know introverts who are incredibly charismatic public speakers. They have immaculate social skills, they're funny, and they genuinely love their friends.
Sure.
But the minute the dinner party is over, their social battery is at 0%, and they need like 12 hours of complete silence.
Right.
They aren't antisocial or shy.
Yeah.
They just have a different neurological response to stimulation.
Precisely. So when an intermediate English learner uses a basic phrase like, I don't like parties, they're accidentally painting themselves as antisocial or unfriendly.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The language doesn't match their actual psychological state. We have to upgrade how we express this internal reality.
Because if you say, I don't like parties to a new colleague, they might think you don't like them.
Exactly.
So what is the linguistic mechanism for expressing this accurately?
You have to express the nuance of your energy. A fantastic C1 level way to articulate this in everyday conversation is to say, I enjoy meeting people, but I recharge by spending time alone.
Oh, that's really nice.
Or even more naturally, if someone invites you to a massive networking event, you could politely decline by saying, I'm more of a small gatherings person.
I'm more of a small gatherings person. That completely shifts the dynamic.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it demonstrates a high level of self-awareness. You aren't rejecting the social interaction. You're just specifying your preferred environment. It sounds infinitely more sophisticated.
And achieving that level of sophistication requires us to advance past our beginner habits. Which brings us perfectly to our first phrasal verb deep dive of the day.
Oh, awesome. What is it?
The phrasal verb is move beyond.
Let's break that down. Move beyond.
Yeah, so to move beyond something means to progress past a basic or fundamental level, to overcome a limitation, or to advance to the next evolutionary stage of a process. In the context of our deep dive today, the application is literal. Once learners move beyond basic words like nice or introvert, they require highly specific adjectives to accurately describe personality.
The spatial metaphor there is really helpful. You start at a designated starting line, the foundational level, and then you physically leave it behind. You move beyond it.
Exactly.
It makes me think of a child learning to ride a bicycle with those little plastic training wheels. At a certain point, the training wheels actually prevent the child from leaning into the turns. To truly ride the bike, they have to take them off. They have to move beyond the training wheels.
That is the exact mechanism of the phrasal verb. You leave the safety net behind because it no longer serves your growth.
I love that.
Now, speaking of growth, we are about 10 minutes into our linguistic journal today, which makes this the perfect moment for a quick check-in with our listeners.
Yes. If you are enjoying this process of upgrading your vocabulary and actively moving beyond the basics of the English language, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to keep this community growing.
Please do.
It is the best way to support us so we can continue bringing these deep dives directly to you.
And you will absolutely want to stay with us because coming up, we are tackling 2 words that everyone assumes are universally positive.
Oh.
Yeah, you might think calling a colleague smart or telling someone they are funny is always a compliment. But what happens when someone gives you a funny look? I promise you, they are not telling a joke.
Oh, that transition right there is why English is beautifully complicated. Let's dig into intelligence and humor. Smart and funny are arguably the most common complimentary adjectives we use on a daily basis.
They're ubiquitous, but just like our banned word nice, they severely lack specificity. Let's categorize intelligence first, because the brain processes information in radically different ways.
Okay, so what are the categories?
We need to distinguish between the flavors of smart. The first category is academic intelligence, commonly referred to as being book smart. To describe a mind that easily absorbs data, formulas, and academic theory, a C1 speaker wouldn't just say smart. They would use adjectives like sharp, brilliant, or quick-witted.
I want to look at quick-witted for a second. The word quick obviously implies speed, and wit relates to mental sharpness.
Right.
So does this specifically refer to someone's processing speed in a conversation? Like their brain is rendering the information faster than everyone else in the room.
Exactly. A quick-witted person connects disparate ideas rapidly, often resulting in a clever response before anyone else has even processed the question.
That makes total sense.
Now contrast that with the second flavor of intelligence, which we call practical smart or street smart.
Okay.
This is the intelligence of survival and real-world navigation. For this, native speakers rely on words like savvy or shrewd.
I'm so glad you brought up shrewd because I have to challenge this one.
Oh, challenge away.
To me, shrewd carries a certain, edge. It feels slightly dangerous. If I am in a performance review and my manager calls me shrewd, I'm honestly not entirely sure if I should say thank you or call HR. Isn't there a hidden insult in there?
That is a brilliant observation about the connotation of vocabulary.
Oh, thank you.
Connotation is the emotional baggage a word carries, separate from its dictionary definition. Shrewd absolutely has an edge, but in the right context, it is a massive compliment.
Really?
Yeah. It means possessing sharp powers of judgment in practical, real-world situations, especially concerning business, negotiations, or financial matters. A shrewd person is calculating, highly observant, and incredibly difficult to fool or cheat.
I see. So it lacks the warmth of a word like brilliant, but it carries a heavy amount of respect.
Exactly.
How would that look in daily life?
Let's visualize it. Imagine a grandmother visiting an outdoor antique market. She spots a beautiful wooden dining table that the vendor has already marked down by 50%.
Okay, good deal.
Right. A merely smart person would see the discount, feel happy, and pay the price. But the shrewd grandmother inspects the table, notices a tiny, almost invisible scratch on the back leg, points it out to the vendor, and somehow negotiates an additional 20% off the already discounted price.
Oh, wow.
She walks away having paid a fraction of the value. That grandmother is shrewd.
That paints such a vivid picture. She's implying her intelligence in a highly practical, advantageous way. She is calculating, but effectively so.
Yes.
It makes total sense now. You definitely want a shrewd person on your team when you are negotiating a complex business contract, but you might not want to play a casual game of cards with them.
Precisely. You understand the boundaries of the word perfectly.
Awesome.
Now let's pivot and examine the flavors of funny. Humor is incredibly subjective, so we need precise adjectives to categorize the experience of laughing.
Okay, let's do it.
If a person's behavior or storytelling causes a room full of people to laugh loudly and uncontrollably, we describe them as hilarious.
Hilarious is physical. It's the kind of funny where you can't breathe, your stomach actually hurts, and you have tears in your eyes.
Yes, it's highly expressive. But there is a quieter, more intellectual and subtle type of humor, which we describe as being witty. A witty person makes clever, rapid, and often very concise, intelligent observations.
Whenever I hear the word witty, I immediately think of classic British humor.
Oh, absolutely.
It's that dry, deadpan, incredibly observant comment that flies right over the heads of half the room. It takes you a full second to process the joke, and then you just smile at the sheer brilliance of it.
That is the exact essence of wit. A witty person might literally only say one sentence during an entire 3-hour dinner party, but it will be the most memorable and intelligent sentence of the night.
Totally.
However, learners must be incredibly cautious because there is a massive linguistic trap when it comes to the basic word funny.
The funny trap. This is where English feels like it was designed just to confuse people. Let's warn the listeners.
The trap is assuming that funny always equates to haha or humorous. In native, everyday English, funny is constantly used as a synonym for strange, unusual, peculiar, or even highly suspicious.
Right.
If a native speaker says, "He gave me a funny look," they absolutely do not mean the person looked like a comedian.
Right. If someone gives you a funny look, it means they looked at you with confusion, suspicion, or perhaps even subtle hostility. The context completely overwrites the dictionary definition.
Exactly.
If you are driving on the highway and your car engine suddenly starts making a funny noise, you are not laughing in the driver's seat. You are intensely worried and pulling over to call a mechanic.
The mechanism here relies entirely on tone and situation. It's a perfect example of why vocabulary cannot be learned in a vacuum.
Absolutely.
Now, let's explore the opposite end of the emotional spectrum. Let's look at how we upgrade the description of someone who is deeply unpleasant. How do we move beyond the basic word annoying?
This is a critical skill because, let's face it, we all encounter people who drain our energy. And we need the exact right vocabulary to vent our frustrations accurately to our friends later.
Oh, we certainly do. Let's build a ladder of frustration.
A ladder of frustration, I like it.
If a colleague's behavior is slightly bothersome on a daily basis, we might describe them as irritating or grating.
Grating.
Yeah, the word grating actually comes from the physical action of scraping a rough surface. A grating personality is like a persistent, unpleasant sound that slowly wears down your patience over time.
Yes, I know a few people like that.
Right. But if we need a true C1 powerhouse adjective to describe a person whose behavior is fundamentally impossible to tolerate, we deploy the word insufferable.
Insufferable. It even sounds heavy when you say it. It has a real weight to it.
Because the root of the word contains suffer. It literally translates to a person or situation that cannot be suffered or endured. It means they're difficult to be around to the point of causing psychological exhaustion.
Can you give an example?
Let me give you a behavioral example. Imagine a person at a meeting who tells a highly inappropriate joke. Nobody laughs. The room goes completely silent.
Yikes.
Instead of apologizing or moving on, this person proceeds to spend the next 5 uninterrupted minutes aggressively explaining the logical structure of their joke and insulting the intelligence of everyone in the room for not understanding it.
Oh my goodness.
That complete lack of self-awareness, combined with extreme arrogance, that is insufferable behavior.
I'm getting stressed out just imagining that scenario. An insufferable person is essentially a black hole for the energy in a room. They demand all the attention, but offer zero value.
Very well put.
And dealing with someone like that brings us directly to our second phrasal verb deep dive of the session.
Yes, it does.
Give up.
The basic definition of give up is to stop trying, to surrender, or to admit defeat.
It's what you want to do after spending 5 minutes with an insufferable person.
Exactly. But let's look at how we can apply this phrasal verb in a sophisticated context. An intermediate learner might construct a sentence like, he doesn't stop trying even when it is hard.
Sure, that works.
That is grammatically flawless, but it lacks texture. A C1 speaker utilizing our newly acquired vocabulary would express the same concept by saying, a truly determined person can face highly insufferable conditions, yet absolutely refuse to give up.
Ooh, listen to the rhythm of that sentence. A truly determined person can face highly insufferable conditions, yet absolutely refuse to give up. By contrasting the positive trait of determination against the extreme negativity of insufferable conditions, you create narrative tension.
Exactly.
The phrasal verb give up acts as the anchor for their resilience.
You've highlighted exactly why advanced vocabulary matters. It allows you to express the tension between a person's internal character and their external environment.
That concept of tension perfectly sets up our next topic. We are going to explore how 2 distinct words can describe the exact same physical behavior. But one word paints you as a respected leader, and the other word brands you with an insult.
This is where we step into the nuance of nuance. We are going to examine how intent, context, and word choice can instantly shift a description from high praise to a sharp criticism.
Let's do it.
Let's analyze a few positive versus negative personality pairs.
I find this psychological boundary fascinating. Human behavior is wildly complex, and the dividing line between a virtue and a toxic flaw is often incredibly thin.
It really is. Let's begin with a classic pair, confident versus cocky.
Right.
Behaviorally, both words describe an individual who deeply believes in their own skills and abilities. However, the energy they project to the people around them is diametrically opposed.
How so?
Confidence is fundamentally rooted in internal security. A confident person walks into a crowded room and their posture simply says, I belong here. They do not need to diminish anyone else to feel secure.
That internal security is magnetic. People are drawn to it.
Exactly.
But the negative counterpart, being cocky, operates differently. Cockiness feels like it stems from a hidden insecurity. A cocky person walks into that exact same room, but their attitude screams, I belong here significantly more than any of you do.
Right.
They are actively comparing themselves to others to maintain their ego.
That is a remarkably astute psychological breakdown. Confidence pulls people toward you, fostering trust. Cockiness repels people, breeding resentment.
Yeah.
Our next behavioral pair revolves around leadership and direction. Assertive versus bossy.
Okay, let's unpack the communication mechanics here. And I have to say, there's a cultural observation here too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
These words are sometimes used unfairly in society. How the exact same behavior might label a man as assertive, but a woman as bossy. So we really urge you, the listener, to be incredibly careful with your word choices here.
That is a crucial point to make. The linguistic application is often heavily biased. But looking purely at the mechanics of the words themselves, being assertive relies on clarity and mutual respect.
Okay.
An assertive individual knows exactly what their goals are and communicates their needs directly without hesitation. Crucially, however, they remain open to dialogue. They state their expectations without shouting, belittling, or disrespecting their team.
Right.
Conversely, a bossy individual is driven by a need for unilateral control. They issue commands, dictate every minor detail, and show absolute disregard for the input or feelings of others.
It's the difference between navigating a ship together and just cracking a whip. An assertive leader says, "This is our objective, and here's how I need you to execute it."
Exactly.
A bossy person says, "Do exactly what I say right now because I am in charge." One requires listening, the other is just dictating.
Precisely. Assertiveness is collaborative direction. Bossiness is authoritarian control.
Well said.
Let's move to our third pair, which deals with resource management. Frugal versus cheap.
Oh, this one ruins friendships. Financial vocabulary is always dangerous territory.
It truly is. Being frugal is universally considered a positive, highly intelligent trait. A frugal person manages their finances with strategic care.
They're smart with their money.
Right. They seek out long-term value, avoid unnecessary waste, and prioritize their spending on things that genuinely matter. They are financial experts of their own lives.
They will happily spend good money on a high-quality winter coat that lasts 10 years, but they won't buy a brand new, overpriced coffee every single morning. That is frugal.
Yes.
But being cheap is a completely different mindset. Cheap is going out to a celebratory group dinner, pulling out the calculator app on your phone at the end of the night, and forcing 6 different people to split the restaurant bill down to the final decimal point because you specifically chose not to eat 3 slices of the shared appetizer.
That visceral reaction you just had is exactly the point.
It drives me crazy.
Frugality is about personal efficiency and wise resource allocation. Cheapness is viewing every interaction as a zero-sum game, prioritizing the preservation of pennies over the preservation of human relationships.
That's a great way to put it.
And our final nuanced pair for this section explores perseverance. Determined versus stubborn.
Again, on paper, these look like 2 sides of the exact same coin. They both describe someone who simply refuses to stop.
The action is the same, but the motivation is where they diverge.
Okay.
Determine implies that an individual is relentlessly pushing forward toward a clear, positive, and constructive goal. They face massive obstacles, but their focus remains on achieving the objective. It is a highly respected, noble trait.
Right, and stubborn.
Stubborn, on the contrary, is ego-driven. A stubborn person completely refuses to change their mind or alter their actions, even when they are presented with overwhelming logical evidence that they are wrong.
I see the dividing line. A determined person will spend 6 hours failing to solve a complex coding problem, but they keep trying different angles until they crack it. A stubborn person is the one who refuses to look at the GPS or ask a local for directions when they have been driving in circles in a strange city for an hour. Determination serves the goal. Stubbornness just serves the ego.
That is the perfect distinction. A stubborn refusal to yield. And navigating these intense personality types perfectly introduces our third phrasal verb, deep dive. Push around.
Push around. This sounds highly physical.
It originates from a physical action, but in B2C1 English, it is almost exclusively used metaphorically.
Okay.
To push someone around means to treat them roughly, to bully them, to exploit them, or to use intimidation to force them into doing what you want against their will.
Ah, I understand. So how do we synthesize this phrasal verb with the adjectives we just analyzed?
We can construct a sentence that highlights behavioral boundaries, like
Right.
An assertive person is deeply respectful of their team, but they absolutely will not let anyone push them around during a negotiation.
Oh, I like that.
It means they hold their ground, they possess a spine, they cannot be bullied into submission.
They absolutely will not let anyone push them around.
Yeah.
That is a stellar, native-sounding construction. It flows beautifully.
Doesn't it? Up to this point, we have focused heavily on single adjectives. But how do native speakers quickly paint a highly visual, emotionally resonant mental picture of a personality?
We transition from words to idioms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And coming up, we're going to decode some of the most common personality idioms, including one slightly gruesome-sounding phrase about keeping your internal organs on the outside of your clothing.
Keeping your internal organs on your clothes. I know exactly which idiom you're referencing, but taken literally, it sounds like a scene from a medical thriller.
It really does.
This is why idioms are so vital. Adjectives merely tell us facts, but idioms actually show us the reality by creating a vivid moral image.
The transition from relying purely on descriptive adjectives to naturally deploying visual native expressions is the true hallmark of C1 fluency. Idioms carry centuries of cultural context.
Let's do it.
Let's analyze 5 key personality idioms that every advanced speaker must master. The first one is the phrase I just teased. Wears her heart on her sleeve.
Let's visualize this. Your heart is the universal symbol for deep emotion, and your sleeve is the part of your garment that covers your arm, the most exposed external part of your clothing that constantly brushes up against the world.
Exactly. When someone wears their heart on their sleeve, it means they display their emotions completely openly and transparently. They possess no emotional filter and do not attempt to hide how they are feeling.
Okay.
If they are devastated, the sadness is instantly visible on their face. If they are overjoyed, the happiness radiates from their posture. Their internal emotional state is pinned to the outside of their clothing for the entire world to observe.
Well, I've always found this idiom fascinating because sleeves are so exposed. It implies a massive amount of vulnerability, right?
It does. It is generally intended as a compliment, implying that the person is profoundly authentic, honest, and completely devoid of manipulation. However, that lack of a protective emotional barrier means they are highly susceptible to being hurt because they cannot disguise their pain.
Right.
Our second visual idiom is a bit tougher. A tough cookie.
A tough cookie. This is such a deceptive idiom. It sounds almost cute, like a children's character.
Yeah.
But it actually describes someone with immense internal fortitude.
Yes. A tough cookie is a person who is incredibly strong, emotionally resilient, and capable of enduring severe hardship without breaking.
Right.
They might appear completely ordinary, sweet, or unassuming on the outside, but when they are subjected to intense stress, pressure, or tragedy, they demonstrate an unbreakable core.
It immediately makes me think of a single mother who works a demanding full-time job, manages a household of 5 children on a tight budget, deals with a broken-down car, and still somehow manages to show up every single day with a calm demeanor and a smile. She is the ultimate tough cookie.
That is the perfect archetype for the idiom. Now, our third idiom shifts the tone to something slightly more chaotic. We use this phrase often, usually with an affectionate sigh. A bit of a handful.
Bit of a handful. The physical imagery here is great. It means they literally fill up your hands so much that you drop everything else you were trying to carry.
Metaphorically, you hit the nail on the head. It means a person, or even an animal, is exceedingly difficult to manage, control, or keep up with. They require a disproportionate amount of your attention and energy.
Okay.
Crucially, however, this idiom is almost always delivered with a warm smile or underlying affection. It is rarely used maliciously. You would frequently use it to describe a highly intelligent, hyperactive toddler who's currently sprinting around the living room, or a massive, joyous golden retriever puppy that doesn't realize how big it is.
Oh, I absolutely adore my new puppy. But he is a bit of a handful, meaning he exhausts me, he destroys my shoes, but I love him deeply.
Exactly.
How does this apply to adults in a conversational setting?
You apply it to adults who possess a chaotic, unpredictable, or highly demanding energy, but whom you still consider a close friend. You might say, I love traveling with my best friend, but honestly, after a few drinks, she can be a bit of a handful.
That makes sense.
It acknowledges the difficulty while maintaining the bond of friendship.
Moving from chaos to complete serenity, what is our fourth idiom?
The old soul.
An old soul. This is perhaps the most poetic idiom in the English language.
It truly is. An old soul describes someone who exhibits a level of emotional maturity, deep thoughtfulness, or profound wisdom that vastly exceeds their biological age.
Like they've been here before.
Exactly. They seem completely detached from the trivial concerns of their peer group. Imagine a 20-year-old university student who has zero interest in attending loud parties or chasing social media trends. Instead, they prefer spending a Friday night reading 19th century philosophy, listening to vinyl jazz records, and engaging in deep, meaningful conversations about the nature of existence.
They interact with the world as if this is not their first time living. They carry the calm wisdom of someone who has already lived a full 80-year life. They are an old soul.
Exactly, which is the absolute polar opposite of our fifth and final idiom, the free spirit.
Ah, the free spirit, the natural enemy of the meticulous project manager.
An inherent clash of personalities. A free spirit is an individual who is fiercely independent, radically spontaneous, and harbors a deep psychological aversion to routines, strict schedules, or societal expectations. They refuse to be boxed in by traditional paths.
Everyone has this person in their contact list. This is the friend who calls you at 7 a.m. on a random Tuesday and says, "Hey, I just booked a one-way ticket to a remote village in Costa Rica. I have exactly $11 in my checking account. I haven't packed a bag, and my flight leaves in 3 hours. See you in a few months."
That behavior perfectly encapsulates the free spirit, and their unique ability to survive that chaos brings us directly to our fourth phrasal verb, deep dive, workout.
Now, workout has multiple meanings. The most common is physical exercise, like going to the gym to lift weights.
Correct, but the C1 application of workout in this context relates to the resolution of a situation.
Okay.
It means for a complex or seemingly disastrous situation to resolve itself successfully, or to end in a positive manner despite a total lack of planning. To return to your example, the free spirit travels to a foreign country with no itinerary and only $11, and somehow, miraculously, everything works out for them.
This is the most frustrating phenomenon for people who love to plan.
I know, right?
The free spirit embraces total chaos, yet they somehow stumble into a free place to stay. They befriend a local family, they find a temporary job, and they have the greatest adventure of their lives. Despite the sheer statistical improbability, things just naturally work out for them.
It's the unexplainable magic of the free spirit. Now that we have analyzed the mechanics of these idioms, it is time to actively deploy them. Passive listening will only get you so far. We need to integrate this vocabulary into your muscle memory.
Yes, it is time for a dynamic speaking practice session. I'm going to establish a real-world scenario, and you, the listener, need to actually speak the responses out loud to practice your B2C1 pronunciation, pacing, and intonation.
Let's establish the context. You are attending a corporate mixer, a slightly formal social gathering for your entire department.
Okay.
You're standing near the buffet table, making small talk with a senior colleague, and you are discreetly discussing the varied personalities of the other people on your team. I will provide a prompt, and I want you to repeat the target phrase out loud. Are you ready?
I'm going to say it with you. If you're listening, repeat it right after me, matching my rhythm. Let's do it.
Your colleague mentions how impressed they are with Sarah, who recently managed a massive crisis with a major client without panicking. Say this out loud with absolute confidence. I really admire Sarah. She is such a tough cookie.
I really admire Sarah. She is such a tough cookie. Notice how the such and the a physically blend together into one continuous sound. Such a tough cookie.
Excellent breakdown of the connected speech. Let's try a more complex one. Your colleague asks about John, who is notoriously funny, but also exhausting to manage. You need to balance a critique with a compliment. Say this out loud. John can be a bit of a handful, but he's incredibly witty.
John could be a bit of a handful, but he's incredibly witty. You raise your pitch slightly on handful to show the contrast, and drop it on witty to land the compliment.
Fantastic intonation. Let's do one final scenario. You are discussing the new intern, who is only 22 but gives incredibly mature advice. Say this. Even though she just graduated, she is a real old soul.
Even though she just graduated, she is a real old soul.
Speaking these full contextual sentences out loud is what bridges the gap between understanding a language intellectually and speaking it fluidly.
All this talk about analyzing other people's personalities brings up a deeply philosophical question. Can a person's core personality actually change over time? Or are we simply adapting our external behavior to survive different environments? The answer might surprise you.
This specific debate has dominated the field of psychology for decades. Now that we possess this expansive vocabulary to describe traits, we have to critically examine the nature of those traits.
Right.
Are they permanently hardwired into our DNA, or are they entirely fluid?
It's a profound question because I constantly analyze my own trajectory. When I think back to my time in high school, I was unequivocally the quietest student in the entire building.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. I sat strictly in the back row. I never voluntarily raised my hand. And the mere thought of public speaking caused a severe physical stress response.
Oh, yeah.
And now, Well, I am literally a host communicating with thousands of people around the globe on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Did my fundamental core personality change? Did I rewire my brain?
The current psychological consensus is that your core personality traits, your baseline temperament, remain remarkably stable throughout your entire adult life. However, your behavior is highly adaptable and changes drastically based on 3 factors: environmental safety, contextual demands, and acquired confidence. You didn't magically transform from a neurological introvert into a neurological extrovert.
That's a relief to hear.
Yeah, your core energy management likely remains the same. What happened is that you systematically gained confidence in your communication skills, and you placed yourself in an environment where you felt psychologically safe enough to express your thoughts without fear of harsh judgment.
It makes perfect sense. The core operating system remains the same, but you install new software to handle different tasks.
Exactly.
This explains why someone can be a completely chaotic disaster in their personal life, leaving clothes on the floor, forgetting to pay bills on time. But when they step into the office, they are a meticulous, highly organized, hyper-focused project manager.
Exactly. Their core instinct might lean toward chaos, but they have learned to rigidly adapt their external behavior to meet the demands of a professional environment.
That's a great distinction.
To accurately describe your personal transformation from a terrified, quiet student to a confident, articulate host, a native speaker wouldn't use a clunky phrase like he completely changed his personality. Instead, they would utilize our 5th phrasal verb deep dive, come out of one's shell.
To come out of your shell. This has to be one of the most vivid metaphors in the English language. We are literally comparing human psychological growth to a turtle.
It is a brilliant, highly accurate metaphor. Consider the biology of a turtle. It carries a thick, heavy, impenetrable shell on its back strictly for protection.
Right.
When the animal is frightened, unsure of its surroundings, or threatened by a predator, its immediate instinct is to retract its head and limbs and hide inside the darkness of the shell. It survives by withdrawing.
Just like a shy person.
Exactly. But when the environment is warm, calm, and free of danger, the turtle feels safe enough to emerge, extend its limbs, and actively interact with the world. It comes out of its shell.
The psychological parallel is flawless. So as a B2C1 learner, if I am managing a new employee who is extremely shy during their first month, but is now confidently leading meetings and joking with the team, I could say, it took him a few months to adjust to the new office dynamics, but he's finally coming out of his shell and showing us how capable he really is.
That is a masterclass in applying context to vocabulary. It beautifully describes a process of growth and increasing comfort without making the false claim that the individual has fundamentally morphed into a different human being. They are the same person, they just feel safer now.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of theoretical ground. Now it is time to put our analytical skills to the ultimate test. It's time for the quick-fire challenge.
I love this part. In this challenge, we're going to take pairs or groups of words that appear nearly identical in a standard dictionary, and we are going to dissect the exact C1 level nuances that separate them in real-world conversation. Let's begin with our first pair, persistent versus determined.
This is a tricky starting point. Operationally, both of these words describe a person who simply refuses to stop what they are doing.
They do, but the linguistic focus is placed on entirely different aspects of the struggle. Persistent focuses almost exclusively on the external action of continuing to try again and again, especially when conditions are difficult or when facing repeated rejection.
Okay, can you give an example?
Think of a door-to-door salesperson who makes 100 cold calls a day, gets the door slammed in their face 99 times, and still enthusiastically knocks on the 100th door. That repetitive action is persistent.
Okay, the action is persistent. So where does determined fit in?
Determined focuses on the internal, deeply rooted psychological decision to reach a specific long-term goal. It is a state of mind rather than a specific physical action.
I see.
You can be deeply determined to graduate from medical school, and that internal determination is the fuel that powers your daily persistence when you are studying at 3 a.m.
I love that distinction. Determination is the internal engine. Persistence is the turning of the wheels. Okay, let's move to our next group, which deals with anxiety. Worrier versus neurotic versus overthinker.
If someone constantly analyzes problems, ruminates on past conversations, or stresses about the future, we use gentle conversational terms to describe them. We call them a worrier or an overthinker.
Right.
These terms carry empathy. People often use them self-deprecatingly. Don't mind me, I'm just an overthinker. I need to read the menu before we get to the restaurant.
I certainly identify as an overthinker, but I would be highly offended if someone called me neurotic. Why does that word feel like a slap in the face?
Because it is fundamentally rooted in clinical psychology. Neurosis is a historic medical classification for a mental disorder involving extreme anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When you casually call a friend or colleague neurotic, you are taking a clinical pathological term and using it to weaponize their behavior. It implies an unhealthy, obsessive, and entirely irrational level of anxiety that destroys their ability to function.
That's intense.
You would never casually deploy the word neurotic in small talk unless your specific intent was to be incredibly harsh and insulting.
That is a crucial warning. Keep clinical terms out of casual conversation. Let's jump to the next pair. Straightforward versus tactless.
Straightforward is a highly valued, positive trait in communication. It describes someone who is honest, direct, and completely transparent. A straightforward person does not play psychological mind games, they do not hide their motives, and they tell you the absolute truth, even when it is difficult.
Right, and truth is generally good. So why is tactless so damaging?
To understand tactless, you have to look at the root word, tact. Tact originates from the Latin word for touch. To have tact is to have a delicate, sensitive touch when handling the fragile emotions of other human beings.
That makes a lot of sense.
Therefore, to be tactless means you possess an honest message, but you deliver it with zero sensitivity. You deliver the truth so bluntly and poorly that it causes severe embarrassment or emotional damage.
This is the classic brutally honest defense. So a straightforward person would pull you aside privately and say, I think we need to revise the data in this presentation before the client sees it, or we might lose the account.
Exactly.
A tactless person would stand up in the middle of a crowded meeting and shout, your presentation is terrible, boring, and full of errors. The underlying factual message is identical, but the tactless delivery completely destroys the relationship.
A perfect illustration of how delivery supersedes the message itself. Let's examine our next pair, which deals with emotional reception. Sensitive versus touchy.
Being sensitive is widely considered a positive attribute, correct? It means you have high emotional intelligence.
In its purest form, yes, it is profoundly positive. A sensitive individual is deeply aware of their own internal emotions and possesses immense empathy for the feelings and struggles of those around them. They can read the subtle emotional shifts in a room.
Okay, but touchy.
However, the word touchy is almost universally negative.
How does touchy differ in action?
A touchy person is hyper-defensive. They are easily offended by the most innocent comments, they constantly perceive insults where none exist, and they react with disproportionate anger or sadness to incredibly minor inconveniences.
We all know someone like that.
When you are around a touchy person, you constantly feel like you are walking on eggshells, terrified that one wrong word will trigger an emotional explosion.
It is exhausting to monitor every syllable you speak around them. Okay, next word in the quickfire challenge, meticulous.
Meticulous is a highly advanced adjective that means showing an extreme, almost obsessive level of attention to the smallest possible details. It implies being incredibly careful, precise, and thorough in your execution of a task.
So a meticulous person doesn't just write an important email, they draft the email in a separate document. They read it 3 times to check the tone, they run it through a spelling and grammar checker, they verify the recipient's email address twice,
Exactly.
they hit send, and then they immediately go into their sent folder to read the entire email a 4th time just to be absolutely sure it was perfect.
That is the textbook defining behavior of a meticulous individual. They leave absolutely nothing to chance. Which stands in stark contrast to our final phrase in the quickfire challenge, being a wild card or someone who flies by the seat of their pants.
Flies by the seat of their pants. The imagery in these idioms is just spectacular.
It dates back to early aviation, before planes had advanced instruments, when pilots literally had to rely on the physical sensations and vibrations they felt in their seats to fly the plane.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Today, it describes a person who navigates life with absolute spontaneity. They possess no clear plan, they ignore protocols, and they deal with rapidly changing situations entirely on instinct as they happen. They are an unpredictable wild card.
Having a wildcard friend sounds like a fantastic time if you were planning a spontaneous weekend road trip. But it sounds utterly terrifying if that same person is your business partner in charge of filing your corporate taxes.
Context dictates value. A wild card can be incredibly charming in a social setting, but utterly disastrous in a structured professional environment. Now, You possess all this advanced, nuanced vocabulary. You understand the psychology behind the words. But can you actually synthesize them into full, natural, native-sounding sentences? It's time for our final practical exercise, the Say It Better segment.
We have spent the last hour gathering these incredibly precise, beautiful linguistic tools, and now we are going to assemble them to see how they function in the real world.
Before we completely reconstruct these sentences, we are going to conduct a final word tour. This is crucial for cementing the pronunciation and the exact BDC1 definitions of our 6 key adjectives into your long-term memory. I will state the word, provide a rapid definition, and I want you to repeat it out loud wherever you are listening.
Listeners, do not let this opportunity pass. Don't just listen passively. Engage your vocal cords and speak.
Word number 1, shrewd, meaning clever and sharp-witted in practical, often business-related situations. Repeat after me. Shrewd.
Shrewd. Make sure you hit that she sound sharply. Shrewd.
Number 2, witty, meaning remarkably quick and clever with intelligent, often dry humor. Repeat. Witty. Word number 3, assertive, meaning confident, direct, clear, yet fundamentally respectful of others. Repeat. Assertive.
Assertive.
Word number 4, tactless, meaning factually honest, but severely lacking in sensitivity, resulting in a damaging delivery. Repeat. Tactless.
Tactless.
Word number 5, resilient, meaning possessing the internal fortitude to recover quickly from difficult or traumatic conditions. Repeat. Resilient.
Resilient.
And word number 6, meticulous, meaning showing an extreme, careful attention to the smallest details of a project. Repeat.
Meticulous.
Phenomenal execution. Now let's play Say It Better. This is the moment where we take a blurry, low-resolution photograph of a basic English sentence, and we digitally upgrade it to 4K resolution so you can finally see the intricate details of the real person.
I love that technological analogy. A basic vocabulary gives you a pixelated, blurry image. C1 vocabulary gives you 4K clarity. Let's look at some basic learner sentences and completely transform them. Our first basic sentence is the ultimate offender. She's very nice.
The dreaded empty nice. In 4K resolution, we eliminate nice entirely and specify the behavior, we say. She's incredibly warm, deeply thoughtful, and exceptionally easy to talk to.
Oh, that's so much better.
You could also insert powerful adjectives like perceptive, welcoming, or considerate. Suddenly, the listener knows exactly how this person makes others feel.
Our next basic sentence describes social preference. I don't like parties.
As we discussed, that sounds antisocial. The sophisticated C1 upgrade replaces rejection with self-awareness. I'm much more of a small gatherings person.
Next basic sentence, focusing on intelligence. She's very smart.
To make this hyper-specific and impactful, we upgrade it to, she's incredibly sharp and consistently makes highly shrewd decisions. Now, we aren't just praising her brain, we are praising her real-world effectiveness.
Let's tackle a negative description. What if someone is overly controlling? The basic sentence is, he's bossy.
Calling a colleague bossy in a professional environment sounds a bit juvenile. A fluent C1 speaker would balance the critique to maintain professionalism, they might say. He's certainly assertive, although his delivery can sound a little controlling at times.
That is a masterstroke of diplomacy. You openly acknowledge the positive trait that he is assertive and can lead while gently pointing out the behavioral flaw that he is controlling without resorting to name-calling. That is how you survive corporate politics.
Exactly. Diplomacy requires advanced vocabulary. Let's look at our next basic sentence. She's very strong.
The ambiguity here is the problem. Do we mean she physically lifts heavy weights at the gym, or do we mean she possesses immense emotional strength?
Right. If we are referring to her emotional fortitude, the 4K upgrade is. She's remarkably resilient. She recovers beautifully after facing difficult experiences.
And our final basic sentence for today. He plans everything.
The C1 upgrade introduces precision. He's incredibly meticulous and prefers to plan every minor detail well in advance.
Incredible. If you integrate these upgraded 4K resolution sentences into an English proficiency speaking exam like the IELTS or TOEFL, or even just casually deploy them in a Monday morning meeting at work, the native speakers around you will immediately recognize and respect your fluency. You are no longer painting with just primary colors. You have access to the entire palette.
We have meticulously analyzed an immense amount of psychological and linguistic ground during this session. But before we conclude, I want to leave our listeners with a final, highly provocative philosophical thought to ponder as they go about their week.
I am intrigued. Hit us with it.
It is widely believed in the realm of psychology that the specific words we instinctively choose to describe others actually reveal significantly more about our own internal personality flaws than they do about the person we are criticizing.
Wait, really?
Yes. The next time you find yourself labeling someone as bossy or stubborn, I want you to pause and ask yourself a difficult question. Are they genuinely exhibiting toxic, negative behavior, or are they simply challenging your own rigid traits? Are you calling them stubborn purely because you are frustrated that they are smart enough not to agree with you? The vocabulary you weaponize against others is often just a mirror reflecting your own insecurities.
That is incredibly heavy, but undeniably true. It forces you to take profound accountability for the judgments you make. Now, as we wrap up, I promised you all a special bonus for sticking with us until the very end of this extensive deep dive, and here it is. The absolute, scientifically proven best formula for permanently remembering new advanced vocabulary.
This specific technique is an absolute game changer for long-term language retention.
The next time you encounter a new, complex adjective like meticulous, shrewd, or insufferable, do not just write the dictionary definition in a notebook. Instead, immediately write down the name of a real, living person in your life who perfectly embodies that word. Think of your meticulous uncle, your shrewd boss, or that insufferable guy from your university classes.
That's such a good strategy.
Connecting abstract linguistic concepts to the concrete reality of people you actually interact with creates a massive emotional anchor in your brain. It is the fastest, most neurologically effective way to ensure that vocabulary sticks permanently.
It binds the word to an existing memory, making retrieval almost effortless when you need it in a real conversation.
Exactly. Now, to prove to us that you possess the resilience to make it to the very end of this intense, hour-long linguistic journey, I want you to go down to the comments section right now and type the phrase, "I am consistent."
Because consistency is the only true key to unlocking fluency.
Also in the comments, I want to challenge you to actively use what we covered today. Answer this question using at least one of the advanced adjectives or visual idioms we broke down. What are 3 words that accurately describe your own core personality and why? Let us know.
Please do.
And of course, we would highly value your feedback. Let us know in the comments what kind of complex topic or scenario you want us to tackle in our next video or session.
Engaging actively with the material, analyzing yourself, and writing it down is exactly how you transition from an intermediate listener to an advanced speaker.
Do hype this deep dive by hitting the like button if you found immense value in upgrading your vocabulary today. Also, if you want to push your reading comprehension further, go to the description box below. I have provided a specific link. If you sign up just once, you will receive a comprehensive free article about advanced English learning delivered directly to your email every single time we publish one.
It is an exceptional resource for reinforcing the structures we discussed today through reading practice.
And remember, if you enjoyed exploring the nuances of language in this deep dive, there are many more podcasts on my channel. Go check them out and binge watch your favorites. Keep speaking out loud, keep expanding those boundaries, keep building that unshakable confidence, and we will see you next time. But until then, beware of the lazy nice trap, and definitely keep analyzing those funny looks.